All right, welcome back to episode 8 of You Can Feel It All Over. My guest today is Mr. Dan Harris. He's a local luthier and singer-songwriter located here in Lafayette, Colorado. Welcome to the show, Dan. Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So I figure the first question, which a lot of people are probably wondering, is what does a luthier do?
A luthier builds stringed instruments. Stringed instrument builder, guitars, mandolins, violins. I think it originally started with people who were violin builders, cello makers, but not trumpet builders.
Not trumpet builders? So anything stringed instrument-wise?
I don't know what a trumpet builder is called.
Yeah, maybe a trumpet builder?
Maybe.
Lack of better
I know that
term.
wasn't the question, but it'd be a good follow-up.
Yeah. Figure that out.
Yep.
Just out of curiosity, how did you get started as a luthier?
Well, I went to a luthier school, but I always had an interest in woodworking and playing guitar since I was a little kid, whittling away little sticks and twigs and stuff, and making boats and whatnot just out of wood. And I think probably in high school wood shop, I made did my first guitar project. I refinished a Squier Telecaster.
Oh, cool.
But then it was many years later. I had a guitar made for me and learned more about the building process that way. Then I went to a guitar building school in Vermont in 2004 called Vermont Instrument Company. And I made an acoustic guitar in 14 days.
Oh, wow. Nice, dude. Is that like how long was the program?
14 days.
It was 14 days long? Okay.
No, actually, let me take that back. It was that's right. I think it was 14 days.
That's
maybe
cool.
12, but it was a pretty short period of time.
Nice.
But we were working like 10, 12 hours a day.
It's like a super intensive program.
Yeah, it sure was.
Cool. So you've always been kind of interested in just, even since young age, like building things and putting things together.
Yeah.
And then that kind of led naturally into wanting to, like I guess what I'm wondering is what led that naturally into wanting to be a luthier? Was it the music? Were you a musician first and then the curiosity led to?
Yeah, I was a musician first, but anybody that's played a guitar, any instrument, you can feel it rumbling in your belly.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of that visceral kind of connectedness that I had with it, and just the wood, and yeah, I absolutely wanted. I became curious probably in high school about how to make instruments, and so.
That's cool. A little known fact: in woodshop class, I built the body to an electric guitar.
Oh, really? What style?
Like a Strat. I think it was like a Fender Stratocaster. We modeled it after. We cut it from the block of wood,
right?
Then sanded it and smoothed it all down.
You have to do all the routing. You do the routing for the pickups and whatnot.
Yeah, we did the routing for the pickups. I can't remember if I actually put it together if I rigged it together from another guitar or not. I think I may have started to.
What about the neck?
Yeah, the neck. I think we were able to take it from a junky guitar and put it on there. It was pretty cool. I don't know if I ever finished it.
Do you still have it?
No, I don't. I don't think I ever finished it. Like I think we finished the body and we got the neck on, and then I got like a little lost in trying to put the pickups and the wiring and everything in there, But it was still pretty cool. I remember the guy was psyched. That was pretty cool. So. I guess another question I'm wondering is like, what's your process for kind of putting together instruments?
Oh, well, first of all, I plan on taking a long time.
A long time?
So that I give myself plenty of time if I'm making an instrument myself. But I get the right set of plans for the instrument that I'm building. And I pick out the woods, and I think about the design often, like the physical design, what it's going to look like. Mm-hmm. I like the instruments to have nice symmetry, in the bindings and just how they're actually constructed. But then I also want them to sound good.
Yeah.
So you got to put that together. So I spend some time selecting wood and looking through different pieces that I either have in my shop or that I want to buy, and testing for stiffness and that kind of thing of your tops and your backs. And so there's a lot of different, physical things. People will tap the wood, and sometimes you can get like a nice little tone out of it. So those are good attributes that I would be looking for, at the very beginning of the process. Then it's making one piece at a time at that point. Bend the sides and cut out the shapes for the top and the back, get those glued together, and
That's cool. What
What
was
braces? Put them all in.
Yeah, so what was your first instrument you built?
It was a jumbo guitar, acoustic, walnut back and sides, black walnut, and then it had I think a Sitka spruce top.
Nice.
I should have brought it today.
You still have it?
I do, yeah. I don't play it a lot because I made it with a really wide neck. I made it when I was a classical guitar player, and I wanted to transition into playing a steel string.
Yeah.
So I made it like I think just under a 2, like a 1 7/8 neck, which is pretty wide for a steel string.
That's cool.
So I don't play it very often anymore because I've graduated down into playing a mandolin with a neck like this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So,
Isn't it funny as we get older, the necks get shorter?
yep. The guitars get smaller. I get crunched in like this.
Yeah, I've been doing that with the bass, like trying to get this little mini acoustic bass, so my left shoulder can, like, I don't have to like have it all like overextended or like, you know, it's fun.
Ergonomics,
Ergonomics, man.
You're becoming more and more important.
Do you have a preference of instrument? Like, do you have like a passion or a preference for like between mandolin? I know you've done some mandolins, you've done some violins, like campfire violins and guitars. Do you have one you prefer? Or
Yeah, I think I like making guitars probably the most. Mandolins and violins are both, they're significantly different to build. They're a different challenge. I mean, you have to carve. There's a lot of that, and I do enjoy doing it, but it takes me forever. So I can put together a guitar almost without using a set of plans at this point. Not completely. I still have to go and make sure I have the right measurements, and I always measure it 2 or 3 times. But I've done it enough now that it's starting to become a little bit more comfortable for me. So
the plans would be important because if you forget one thing, it probably affects the overall.
Absolutely. I mean, you gotta have the blueprints. So.
Yeah. Do you? I was always been curious about is do you get an idea of what the instrument's going to sound like by the wood you choose and the bracing, or is it like part of the cool process of building an instrument?
All a mystery.
Yeah,
you do, absolutely. Certain woods, typically a guitar top is going to be made of spruce or cedar. Predominantly it's going to be spruce, and almost all the other stringed instruments are going to be spruce. And that typically is going to have, it's going to have a different sound than cedar, just right off the bat. Just the wood itself, when you tap it, it's going to sound a little different. Typically a cedar is going to be a little warmer sound.
Okay.
And a spruce will impart kind of a brighter sound, more of a bell-like tone. And then you can think about like what your back and sides are going to be and what they sound like. So Brazilian rosewood or Indian rosewood is going to have a sound that's different than mahogany.
Oh, that's cool.
And so then you kind of think about what it's going to be like putting them together and what those two are, what those sound like together, and you get a general sense of it from your set of wood, but you're asking about the bracing, and then that has a huge amount to do with it. What kind of wood the bracing's made of, how thick the bracing is, like the grain of those. So it's easy to overthink it. I just try to make a really good guitar when it looks good and sounds good and plays good, and those are my goals. And I mean, certainly pay attention to like your tap tones of the plates, the back plates and the top plates. You want those to have certain interval between each other and not be like completely dissonant. So there's things like that you can kind of control and shape, kind of. But
that's cool.
It is wood. It's an organic thing, so it comes out however it comes out.
Yeah. Well, why would someone buy a guitar from a luthier or purchase one from you as opposed to going to Guitar Center and buying like a nice Martin or something like that?
It's certainly a valid point, because you can get a great Martin or Taylor guitar for not a ton of money. Do you want to support a business that makes millions and millions of 66 million hamburgers sold? Right?
Yeah.
or somebody who will handcraft exactly what you want. It might be exactly what you want is that beautiful Taylor 812 guitar. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not knocking those instruments. They're great, but they're mass produced. So, you're getting something that's off an assembly line. And you get that consistency, just like you do the 66 million hamburgers.
Yeah.
And I don't sell a ton of instruments because I want to actually like know the person and work with them, and have
that's
like
cool.
Some kind of human relationship, because I'll be working on an instrument for a little while. So,
that kind of segues into the next question. Like, how do you, what is it like, so say I came to you and I was like, hey, I'm really interested in getting a guitar. Don't know what I want. Like, do you have certain questions you ask to kind of cater, like hone in on?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I ask people, what kind of guitar they typically play, what they like to listen to. I mean, I look at them. Are they a small person? They might not want like a giant dreadnought or a jumbo style guitar. They might want an OM or something smaller. So, and I have several guitars at my house, and so I just have them try it out. We talk about the hands. It's kind of an important part of it too, because you're in left hand or wherever your hand is on the neck. It's going to affect what kind of fingerboard you have or what kind of neck thickness you have. And some people say like, I want one it's like a Taylor.
Yeah.
So, I ask them those kind of questions. It's part of like you're not going to get that off the shelf of a Martin. You're not going to be able to say, oh, well, I want my neck to be a little bit thinner. You just get whatever you get.
Yeah.
And unless you know somebody or have enough
you're
confidence.
saying like if you go to like Guitar Center, you're going to get what you can get.
Kind of comes back to the question before as well. So,
what do you think would be the biggest misconceptions people have about luthiers? Anything come to mind?
I don't think anybody would ever misconceive that we're making tons of money and we're rich.
That's true.
Even if you get an instrument for $5,000, I probably made the profit enough to make a hamburger.
Yeah.
When you really think about it. So there's,
like time, right?
It's a time. Yeah, it's a time factor. That's a lot of it. It's like some folks individually can produce a lot of instruments in a year. But I can't, and it's just I don't have all the ton of machinery, and so there's that kind of thing. But I think honestly, the biggest misconception that I've run into that people have with what a luthier is, or about luthiers, is how do you even pronounce that,
or how to spell it.
Right. I know. So I just say I'm a guitar builder.
I kept trying to Google as like questions for a luthier, and then I kept spelling it wrong. Some common misconceptions that spelling luthier is easy.
Yeah, I know.
Well, if somebody was interested in getting started, what would they need? Like, would they need a lot of tools? Because when I think about luthier, and I've been to your shop and been to your house, like I think about like, oh my God, I'd have to have all these electric tools and all these different things. Or can people just start with the kits? Can they go online?
No, that's what I would recommend, is starting with a kit. And there's several out there. I'm not going to name any, but just go Google guitar kits and you'll find tons of them.
Yeah.
Get a good set of instructions. DVD. There's a number of YouTube videos, resources out there. But I think a kit is a great way to do it because you already have your pieces basically built out, and then it's just a matter of assembly, depending on whose kit you get and what level of work you have to do. But it alleviates some of the beginning steps or some of the harder work. And it's a great way to learn, rather than have to like shave every single brace and, cut your radius hole or even cut your sound hole. I mean, those are things that they take a little bit of skill to do that.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so you can have some of that harder work done already. And come out with really nice. I've built guitar kits, I've built fiddle kits, and made really nice instruments from them. So.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I know that you have an almost 2-year-old now, and your time is pretty tight. But if somebody were listening to this and they wanted to get, I know you offer in the past. You've offered like campfire fiddles, which I thought was a great idea, like building an affordable but great sounding fiddle from a kit.
Yep. That
people could purchase. I know you still build mandolins, guitars. If somebody was interested in reaching out to you for like an instrument or one to come check out what you play or the instruments you've made and stuff, and maybe get one, are you up for that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can get a hold of me on my website on danharrismusic.com.
danharrismusic.com.
And you can see that I have a tab in there for a bunch of instruments that I've built, and then all my music, which we'll talk about later. So.
Cool, yeah. And then before we segue into actually playing some of these instruments, got 2 more questions. One is, how do you think being a musician influences being a luthier?
Oh, that's a great question. For me, it's really the two are kind of two sides of one coin. I mean, I spend a lot of time in my shop, and then I'll come out of my shop often, not always, but often, and have a song like in my head, or have something that's there that I created. They're both these things that I'm creating out of thin air. and they both complement each other. So it's really nothing for me. There's nothing more gratifying than writing music on instruments that I made.
Oh yeah,
because I created this thing out of thin air. Well, actually, out of a tree, a couple trees, and some metal. But you know what I mean. Out of inanimate objects, and created this inanimate object that can make this piece of music that I wrote. So
that's cool. That's cool. What do you think what is your favorite part of being a luthier? Then what's the worst part for you? Or the hardest part, you know what I mean?
The most tedious part is sanding. I hate sanding. I just hate it. I really don't. I need to hire somebody, like an apprentice, just to come sand for me. Hand sanding, I just do not like any part of it whatsoever. But the most gratifying part, or I think the best part, is completing an instrument, having it be really nice, and just making my first really nice music on it, and
that's cool, man.
And having it like open up and just be with it for a little while. So
nice. And the final question I have for you before we segue into playing, you bring a guitar and a mandolin that you've built.
I did.
I always thought it was cool. Is it a leaf or a feather? Is your little?
It's a leaf.
The leaf. What's the story behind the leaf? That's like your branding. You're branding for it, right? What's the story behind that?
The right toward the end of the luthier workshop that I went to, my bench was in Vermont, and it was beautiful. It was out in the forest, and my workbench was out looking out on this window, and there was an elm tree. The leaves were out there, and I looked at them every day when I was building my first guitar. The instructor of the school had a friend that was a silversmith who had offered to come down, and I don't know if he still does it, but during that period he would do custom inlays for people, and then we could learn how to do our own, actually like inlay it in.
Oh, that's cool.
So that's where it came from. It was just this little elm tree, and that was in front of my bench when I made my first guitar, and then I had the silversmith actually make me a little silver leaf, and it's evolved. It's changed like anything like that, because I didn't make 10 of them. I should have had him do that, and I could have just kept them. But
yeah.
So I hand cut every one of them. I've made them out of wood now, and I've made them out of
cool
mother of pearl and a couple different materials. So
that's awesome. And so all the instruments have had the leaf logo in one way or another. Like the design has changed, but from the get go, it's been there. That's cool, man.
Right.
Sweet. Well, what do you say we take a quick break and then shuffle things around and have you play some of these fine instruments for the people?
Sounds good, Keith.
Okay.
So this is an OM style guitar. It's also called orchestra model, made after the Martin OM instruments. I made this one from Coca-Cola, Mexican Coca-Cola back and sides, and a Western red cedar top. I call this the bullet guitar. My wood, after I pulled it out, I've been sitting in my shop for about 10 years. And one of the pieces, actually this piece here, had a hole in it. And I tried everything to get it out. I thought maybe I would steam it, maybe it was dented. And eventually I pulled out a 22 bullet, and somebody had shot into the tree. Shooting a squirrel or something. I don't know what they were shooting, but it ended up in the tree, and it didn't mushroom. It was intact. So I pulled it out, and then, careful not to give myself lead poisoning, I sliced off a little piece of it, and I turned it into this inlay, and I filled that hole, and it's underneath the fingerboard, in between the fingerboard and the, there's a block under there for the joint. So that's why I call it the bullet guitar. I should write a song about a bullet guitar, but I haven't. But I really like playing it. It's a nice instrument. I seem to like it too, so I hope you do. This mandolin is an A style. I carved the top, carved the back. Didn't carve the sides, but I bent those. The wood is it's really pretty bird's eye maple, and then it's a spruce top. I did an Engelmann spruce top on this. It's a really nice instrument. I like it. It sounds good. It plays good. Single piece. Did I make this single piece? No, I didn't. It's 2 pieces on the sides here. I did all the hand varnish, stain. This is my little logo we were talking about with Keith earlier. So that's one that I did out of wood. I made that just out of the same piece here. So there you have it. A-style mandolin.
All right. So welcome to the segment of questions from Facebook Landia. We have a question here from Mr. Dick Slade. He asks, I've always wondered what it takes to become a luthier. I absolutely love instruments and would love to learn how to make them. What steps are involved, and would it even be possible for someone my age to learn? His age is probably late 30s.
Late 30s?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely anybody can learn how to do it. As long as you have 2 working hands. I imagine you could do it with 1 working hand, really. But what you need is some patience. You need patience and, a set of tools. You don't need a ton of tools. I talked about it earlier, recommended getting a kit. So if you really wanted to learn how to do it, I would recommend getting a kit that came with a good manual. StewMac sells them, and LMI. Those are both well-known purveyors of instrument, guitar-related stuff. So that's what I would take. And I would also say that don't doubt yourself, because really it's a piece of wood that's glued together with some strings. And so if you mess it up, you can do it again.
Yeah,
you can make another one.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Don't self-doubt. Also, thinking, kind of what I'm hearing you say is thinking small and being like, hey, you don't have to jump right into buying all this expensive gear. Like, start off with kits.
Start off with a kit and just get, you want good gear. You get what you pay for, and you don't want cheap tools that are going to dull out quickly. But, for modest investment, $300 in tools, maybe hand tools, and then a kit you could probably get for about $500 to $600 top. So you could have a guitar in your hands that you made, and especially if you get one that comes with a good video, or if you go take a class. I mean, that's really that'd probably be your other method, is going to take a class, take a course somewhere, and learn under somebody. And none of them are very long; they're usually just a few weeks. So.
Yeah. So are there actually online courses out there, or
there's online? Yeah, absolutely. There's online. A lot of online instruction for that kind of thing. And then there's places that you can go. There's schools that you can go to.
That's cool.
But I think almost all of those have branched out into offering some kind of an online thing for the folks that just can't take a week or 2 weeks, wherever, and travel out to wherever it is, Indiana, or just whatever it is.
Yeah, or maybe they can. Maybe one idea is get a kit. Start off with the kit. If you're really into it, build an instrument or 2 from kits, and then look into some, if you want to take it further.
Yeah.
Some sort of either in person, maybe Google, like Boulder County luthiers, and
find a mentor, find some people to work with, for sure. But
or online courses.
Just trial and error. I mean, I made 1 guitar under somebody else, and then probably made about 8 that were really crappy after that. My first one that I made with somebody else was really good. Yeah. my next half dozen at least were not very good, but it's a skill. You got to be patient with yourself.
And kind of thinking of it more like as a marathon and a process, as opposed to a one and done, or being like, oh, I can't, like each time, like even like these podcasts, it's like each time
gets a little better.
It gets a little better. Yeah. You notice things that are a little worse, but it's like, hey, what's one thing I can work on to improve?
Right.
And thinking more long term, I think, is really important too, I'd imagine.
Yeah, for sure.
Not being discouraged.
Yep.
Cool. All right. Well, I hope that answers your question, Mr. Slade. Thank you for participating in questions from Facebook Landia. That was super cool. A nice treat to listen to the instruments, answer some questions from old Facebook Landia. I figured now we'll kind of segue into just talking about your singer-songwriter career. First question is, how did you get started writing songs, Mr. Dan Harris?
How did I get started writing songs? Boy, I don't know. That's probably from singing songs.
Was there anything?
right? I mean, it didn't come from thin air.
Yeah,
It came from listening to a lot of other music.
Yeah.
I played music for a long, long time, and I was a classical guitar player for a long time before I started actually writing songs.
That's cool.
Per se, things that we sing with words.
Yeah.
But really, it came from I got kind of burned out on playing my classical guitar, and my musical taste shifted. And I started listening to more acoustic guitar and singer songwriter and that kind of stuff. Listened to a lot of John Prine and Robert Earl Keen and Steve Earle and a lot of that. That's like really where I kind of landed when I came out of the classical guitar world, which was a bit of a different. That's
cool. So kind of like a 180.
Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of how that came.
That's cool. Can you remember the first song you wrote or what it was about?
No, I have no idea. I think the first one I wrote was just some sad ass song, and when I was in high school, probably about a girl or something, and maybe one or two other sad ass songs about girls or girlfriends. Yeah. until I just quit altogether for many years because I was just so self-critical. I thought they were terrible. And
so instead of writing songs about trying to use the songs to get girls, you were writing songs because you were sad about breaking up.
Pretty much, So I got right to the heart of music, just heartache and sorrow. So.
Yeah.
But I learned to embrace that later on.
Yeah, I mean, hey, why not? To me, songwriting is like just a lot of like perspective,
Right. Yeah.
And I think there's more honesty in writing songs about deep diving into the human emotions and things that are going on inside and life experiences. Do you have any do you have a creative process for writing songs?
Sometimes, if I'm being disciplined, it involves sitting down, and I'm not claiming that I do this right now at all.
Yeah.
But when I'm going through the process of really trying to focus on that aspect of creativity, it's just sitting down and doing it every single day. Like the only way, it's like anything, you got to practice.
It's a muscle.
If you want to get good at your instrument, if you're working on a tune, or if you just want to be better in general, you just do it every day. And it's the same thing with writing. So really just sitting down and writing every day. Not necessarily like I've got a song in my head I'm going to write, or today I'm going to write about X subject. Sometimes I do that. But oftentimes, more often than not, songs just kind of come out for me. So I think it's because I do all of these other little building blocks throughout my day. I'm, either just writing, or I got stuff in my head, or I'm playing an instrument. So these little musical things just kind of going on and on and on, and then boop.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's not always, like I said, it's not always like that, but some of them have taken over a year to write.
Okay. So just the basic process of sitting down every day, mostly every day, just write, even if it's not to like, hey, I'm going to write a song, just like, I'm just practicing the craft of writing.
Exactly it.
It's cool.
Even if it's just a little tiny bit, 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. Even just, you think journaling would constitute as that?
Yeah, absolutely could. It's not something that I do, but absolutely it's, just trying to have, just getting the creative juices going, the vocabulary, getting the words and out there on the paper, because it's easy to sit down like I'm going to write a song and then with your guitar and then just kind of trap like I got a verse, right? But then you're just playing your guitar and you're stuck because I'm playing my guitar, and that's I'm better at that I think than writing songs, and so I fall back on that and write one verse, and so if I just leave the instrument in its case and just have a piece of paper and a pencil, I can make a lot more progress.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you ever? The hardest part I always had with trying to write songs was sometimes just even finishing them, or like I have these stories in my head, and then I would start something, and then I'd get frustrated and give up, or put it aside, start something else. Do you make it a point to just sit there and be like, do you have several songs going, or do you make it a point to be like, I need to finish this one before I can move on to another one?
Oh, I've got a whole notebook full of half-finished songs. Mm-hmm. I really do. Brilliant first line, crappy second line, terrible third line, verse, it's mediocre, maybe a good verse into the second one, and then, like I said, give up frustrated. But that's where the hard work comes in. That's where the elbow grease comes in. That's where the actual, like, taking that creative spontaneity, like, I just threw this out on the paper, this verse and chorus, and maybe a bit of a bridge and an idea to go somewhere else. That's that creative spontaneity, and then sitting down and taking the craftsmanship, and the discipline and focus to finish it. I think one thing that's become freeing for me in regards to not finishing songs is letting myself realize, and you too, Keith Summers, and anybody else out there, that you don't have to write the world's greatest song.
That's true.
So if you started like, this is the world's greatest song, you know, well, whenever, not that I ever do that, but a lot of my songs are half finished because I want it to be like great. And it's like, just finish it.
Just put it out there.
Just get it out there. Who cares? You know, make it about hamburgers or whatever. Just something. Just get it out there and do it. And then there's more room. You got material to work with, right? But if I get stuck up on my standard, like it's got to be like nobody's gonna like it. I already know that, you know, in my head.
Yeah.
And then it's got to be like an X level of writing before I even get it out the door. It's kind of foolish to assume that that's the case.
Yeah. No, I can relate to that. I mean, it's amazing to me how, like, you know, because I do middle school counseling to the day, work with some kids around perfectionism, and it's such an interesting process to me of how easy it is for me to get caught up. Like, even just like, I put together me playing different instruments of songs that I'm like, oh, it'd be cool to like share this on Facebook because like my family would like to see it.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, some of my friends, just, you know, just for that purpose. But then like there's one part that's a little wonky and I'm like, oh my God, I can't put that up there.
Yeah, you're off like by half a beat somewhere in the
yeah, like something stupid.
13th measure of whatever, you know.
Yeah. They're like, oh, I can't do that. You know? But then but it is interesting with this, even with the video stuff, it's like just that process, I think, of like, I think what you're saying that I've learned trying to do all this stuff, you know, it's just it doesn't have to be, not everything has to be a masterpiece, and just putting stuff together and getting it out there is more important than trying to, like, knowing when to be like, it's good. This is a good point.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I always use a metaphor in my own head of like climbing a mountain, you know, where I'm like with the video editing stuff, it's like there's a point where I'm like, all right, cool. I've made it up high enough that I feel good that I can just turn around, or I'm at a point where it's like I can keep nitpicking this to get to the top of the mountain.
Right.
But ultimately, I've got so much going on. Like, I just want it to look good. I want it to sound good, and get it out.
Right.
I imagine that's a good point with even writing songs. You know, like it does. And even like the pros, I'm sure when they're getting paid.
I'm sure they got notebooks full of unused material.
Yeah, and it's not like they're like trying to craft a masterpiece. They're probably just like, I'm just getting stuff out there. Something's gonna stick, something might not, you know. Right. But it's okay. Yeah. Do you which is your favorite song you've written and why?
Oh,
or one of them, you know, I know.
I don't know. I've been digging writing instrumentals lately.
That's cool.
And actually some of those, there's one or two of those I really enjoy playing a lot. It changes. I mean, I've got some that I feel are better than others. Mm-hmm. I got some that I played when I play out that folks seem to really enjoy. Wrote a song called Snake Canyon that people seem to like a lot. And most of what I write, it just you're talking about like your inner soul, and I very rarely write music like that at all. I don't write a lot of introspective, like, get to your heart, man. Like, I got friends that do that and they do it wonderfully. I just like writing stories, crafting stories and kind of tales and, you know, folk tales. And so I guess it just, you know, depends on how well I'm playing that song and it connects with other folks that makes me like it or not.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
You know, it totally makes sense. I was actually going to bring that up because I've played with you a lot, and as a kind of support role guy, I really like story-based songs because then it helps me. In my head, it sets a tone and a mood, like the Snake Canyon song.
Right.
Even if I don't necessarily know what it's all about, I still get like some sort of visual while I'm listening to the words coming in, and then it helps me kind of try to. It's real inferential, but try to get the idea of the feel that would fit the song.
Right.
You know, like maybe it's westerny type song. You know, I know that's what I always kind of think of with that one. You know, like spaghetti western effect.
Yeah.
I know it sounds weird.
Yeah, no, me too.
Then you have the ant song. It makes me think like dreamy.
Yeah.
You know, like a lazy summer day, and there's these ants. You know, someone drops an ice cream cone.
Right.
So it's like I get this great visual because I'm a visual person, and then I can try to color the music or help tell the story even more.
Yeah,
So
and that's how a lot of my writing is. Like I'm thinking when I'm writing it, I write visually. I write, like something's happening, so you would actually see it, and as I would see it in my head. It turns out other folks kind of see that description too.
I do totally. I love playing with singer songwriters that have that tell stories, because I feel like it opens up for the support guy. It opens up more musical. Like it's almost like it gives me the opportunity to play more musically,
Right?
Because I feel like I'm helping contribute to the overall story and the mood and the tone, the mood of the story and like the tone and everything.
Yeah, for sure.
So I always think that's like you have that. When I play with you, my friend Kara is kind of the same way. It just gives me an opportunity to think more creatively.
Right.
As opposed to like, this is a country song and it's got to
be played with country.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
This is a bluegrass song. It's got to be played. Like
yeah, which is cool too.
Yeah.
But it's always nice. I like kind of the creative part too.
Yeah,
I like it all, but yeah, I always appreciate that. What's one of your favorite aspects of songwriting? I got to work on getting new chairs. You hear that?
Yeah, I did, man. I heard your squeaky ass chair. Yeah. You'll edit that out, I'm sure.
This is a very low budget podcast for those of you watching and listening at home.
My favorite aspect about writing a song is writing a song and writing it well and playing it well and having people connect with it. People come up like, oh man, I really like that tune. Because we all want our work to be liked. Yeah. It's like you paint something, you don't want people to come and say, "Oh, that looks like garbage." You got to take some lessons. Right?
you could do way better than that.
No, you want people to enjoy and connect with it, and so I think that's even though I write mostly story songs and don't write a lot of things I want to relate to your heart. Still people enjoy that music and do find it relatable. To that extent.
But I hear you say that you don't have the right from the heart, but like I know
a couple songs
like the song for Murphy.
Yeah,
Little Dog. Or is that November? What's that one called?
Cold November. Yeah,
Cold November. I love listening to that.
Yeah, well, I've got like 3 songs that I've written like that, but most of them aren't. Because I don't want to cry through my own damn song every time I play it.
Yeah. Got to channel that emotion. That's cool. So what comes first for you? The melody, the lyrics, or the chord changes? Or is there no rhyme?
Oh no, that's a good question. It's usually the lyrics and the melody are kind of, they come at the same time, usually. And like when I'm writing, I'm often like when I'm sitting down even without an instrument and just sitting there writing, I'm thinking about my phrasing and thinking about how I would sing this, how I'd speak it really, but then how I'd sing it. And that really dictates a lot of how I write it. So cool. I'm just thinking about that. I constantly have a jukebox going in my head all the time. There's 2 or 3 things like.
Isn't it annoying?
A little bit.
Same here. Do you have like the curse of the 2:45 a.m. wake up call, and you're like, oh my god, this one line is in my head,
absolutely.
Or like this melody.
Yeah.
That happens a lot with the bass. Like I have to sometimes. I just have to get out of bed.
I've written songs that way though, because I'll just be thinking about it all night long. I'm like, all right, it's 5 a.m. and get up and make some coffee and just
do it.
Let's get this dang thing out.
5 a.m. is kind of like the magical hour. Like if I haven't fallen back asleep and it's like close to 5 a.m. I'm like, all right, time to get going.
Just start.
Yeah, that's cool. Who are some of your who would you say are some of your favorite singer-songwriters? Like maybe mentors or people you looked up to, or kind of where are you pulling from?
It's a good question.
This is good for my ego. You keep saying good questions. I'm excited.
It's a terrible question.
I feel like I'm doing a good job for once.
Keith, you're my mentor.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
How's that for your ego?
No.
I pull from people all around. Really, it's I listen to a lot of folks, local players, and just just as far as like big names. I mean, certainly like John Prine and Woody Guthrie, and I mentioned Robert Earl Keen earlier, and Steve Earle, and those folks had a big influence early on. But yeah, and reading, just reading, reading anything really helps stir my creative juice. Where do I pull from? I pull from the music of the world. I pull from headlines. I pull from magazine covers, and
that's cool.
Just whatever else is out there. So
yeah, man, that's cool. Mm-hmm. That's cool. Any so you do the singer-songwriter part. You also play in a band. You have a band too. You want to tell us a little bit about the band? I got a band
called the Renegade Roosters, and it's an old-time bluegrass band, and we play probably about half of my music that I've written, and then the other half are just traditional bluegrass tunes and old-time tunes, things like Katie Klein and Rock, Salt, and Nails, Hop High, stuff like that. Yeah. A lot of, it's fun. It's, we're all kind of have our foot in some aspect of playing bluegrass old-time music, and so it's just a fun time. We've been playing together for about 3 years now.
That's cool. Has the songwriting process gotten easier for you, harder, or the same as the longer you do it?
In relation to the band, or just in general?
In general, for the band, or for
I think for some aspects, if you ask me to sit down and craft a song with 2 verses, a chorus, and a bridge, I could probably do it. Would it come out good? I don't know.
Yeah.
Right, but as far as like the craft of it, I mean, I understand, that, like the tools of the trade. But cool. It's like guitar building, so you can know how to use a chisel, but how good can you use that chisel? Right? You could have a basic understanding of how to use that handsaw, or your bandsaw, or how to carve something.
Yeah.
But how well can you really finesse it, and so to what level can you bring that up? And so that's kind of the same with the songwriting for me.
That's cool. And that kind of goes back, I'd imagine, to what we were saying a little earlier. It's just when to know enough is enough.
Yeah.
And to put it together. So the finessing part and whittling it down.
Yeah.
But then also knowing when to be like, all right, this is good. I'm happy with this.
That's good. Yeah. And then, what I often will do then is, at least with my music, so I'll go ask somebody else what they think, right? Because you can get a way different perspective on, what I think is a really good arrangement, and get a way different perspective on that, and be willing to have an open mind about that too.
That's cool. That's cool. So you kind of just touched upon it, but one of the questions that came to mind when I was coming up with some different things to ask you, are there any other correlations between songwriting and being a luthier? I mean, the finesse part you just kind of talked about, but anything else that kind of connected?
A long time ago when I started building instruments, I set out to write a song on every piece, every guitar that I made. Either write a song or learn a piece.
Oh, that's cool.
That was specific to that instrument. So I would really spend, and I still do this, like when I'm working on a guitar or a mandolin, I spend time really thinking about. A lot of it's subconscious, but it's there, like just trying to be aware of like what kind of music am I going to bring into the world with this piece of wood.
Oh wow!
And I think of my my songwriting kind of in the same aspect, like this pile of words.
Yeah.
What am I going to bring into the world with this pile of words that I have here? This thing that I just made because I know how to craft it, because I know the tools. But what am I really going to make out of that? What kind of arrangement? I'm going to pull it apart and redo it and that kind of stuff. So
that's super cool. Mm-hmm. So highlighting what you're saying with being a luthier. Crafting guitar and actually writing a song for that, like fiddling around with it and being like, what I hear this guitar say or sing or something, and putting a song to that, and then trying to think of the same thing when you write a song, like here's all these words and stuff, like how is this going to contribute to the overall vibe of the world? Or you give back.
I try not to think about that too much, but I do think about like what am I going for? It's like you have a blueprint for a guitar. I know I'm making an OM guitar is my blueprint. I've done it a bunch.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's kind of the same with the music. I've got a blueprint that I'll follow. Not always. I don't have writing the same form at all. Sometimes I do.
Yeah. No, I got you.
But it's it's just a.
I think it's good to think about, especially for people who listen. I think there's always a different perspective between musicians and people who write songs and engage in like a lot of creative stuff versus people who, you know, don't engage in a lot of creative stuff, or like or maybe not in the musical sense, you know, because I think there's a lot of like, I know I've learned a lot just from listening to like Howard Stern interviews with like Paul McCartney and like songs that I hold dear to my heart that the Beatles wrote. And then I think it's like this deep, meaningful thing.
He's like, didn't mean anything.
He's just like, Paul and I or John and I would be sitting around and someone would say something and they're like, wow, that's a great line. Let's just try to build a song off of it. And like, you know, not everything has to be this deep, iconic thing,
right,
you know?
Right.
But it is cool to think about processes and, you know, like one thing that comes to mind I was thinking about for you, and I think we kind of touched upon it, but do you ever get, for your like writer's block, or is it more like sometimes songs come to you, you can get out one shot, sometimes they all sit in a binder and you revisit them and, you know?
Yes.
Do you ever get...
Yes, I do get writer's block, and when I get writer's block, it's usually because I'm just not writing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know that's obvious. Like, of course you're not writing.
Yeah.
I'm thirsty. I'm thirsty. I'm not drinking my water. Well, your water's
Yeah.
there. Why don't you drink your water?
Yeah.
Right. And so it really comes down to, again, just you know, sitting there and I mean, I don't have like when I'm playing music and just working on instrumental stuff. Especially when I was a classical guitarist, and I know we can all relate to this. Anyone who's really just worked on an instrument, you get to a plateau. You like technically you get to a spot where like, oh, that's about as good as I feel I can get, and I just kind of feel like I'm kind of stuck right here. I can't really advance this next level piece. And what I've often done is I'll just play like a different instrument, right? Like I'll pick up my fiddle if I'm really working on my guitar and having like something that's really like, I just can't figure this shit out, or I'm just sick of doing this. Just go do something else.
Yeah.
And so that's why I try not to think of like my songwriting, this song is the end all do all. And if I can't get it done, or if like I'm not writing and it's just killing me because I get writer's block, it's like, all right,
that's all right.
just go do something else. I'm not making any money off of writing songs. I'm not on Nashville, I'm not on the songwriting circuit in that sense. So just go do something else that's creative. Or not, but typically I'll just find a different creative thing, and that almost always will unlock the one thing that's I'm plateaued at, whatever it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, even I know for me, sometimes getting in the funk, I'm like, all right, maybe just go for a walk.
Yeah.
Or maybe go cook some food on Sunday, and all of a sudden I come back and I'm like, oh my God, all these things kind of shifted in my head, or maybe just putting something down.
Right.
I had an interesting, I always forget about this. I haven't been playing as much because I've messed up my shoulder, some tendonitis, so I've taken kind of a break. And it was really interesting. I play at the open mic night that I host on Wednesday nights at the Cannon Mine Coffee Shop. We draw cards at 6:30. Sign up right after that. Shameless plug right there.
Get there quickly.
Get there quickly. Fills up. But I know it was interesting that I'll sit in with people, and which is always fun because it gives me a chance to be more creative and try to see what I can create spontaneously on the fly, especially when you don't know the songs. But it was interesting to me the other night where like I left kind of self-defeated, like, oh man, I got to work on some of this stuff. I haven't played while it's showing. But then I got 2 or 3 nice text messages.
Oh, good.
And the people I played with, they were like, wow, you sounds like you're putting a lot of time into
I
working.
haven't played it all in months.
And I woke up the next day and I was trying to work. I was like, you know what it is? It's more that it just felt good.
Right.
To like, it's almost like the stuff just processes in the back of your subconscious, and then you get the moment just to like.
Sure, and I think to a certain extent that probably comes off as fresh and authentic to the audience rather than like rote. Yeah,
like, other than like being like, okay, I'm just going to do the same stuff over and over again because it was fun for me. Yeah, that's cool. What advice do you have for someone who may be listening to this, sitting at home, being like, this is cool. I've always wanted to write songs.
Take up banking.
Take up banking. Anything but songwriting.
No. Just get down, get a pencil, and don't feel like you're writing the best song. Write something silly intentionally. Write something dumb. Write something that like, this is going to be the dumbest freaking song in the world, and I'm going to make it that way. And just do it. Just do it. Write it and listen to a lot of what people are doing. Really, if you really want to delve into the craft, like, download lyrics and study them. Like, what is Tim O'Brien writing about? How is he writing this? How is he using these words? Or Daryl Scott, or any whoever your idol is. If you really want to do it, is study that, and don't maybe try to emulate it, because then you'll still just sound like an imitation of Daryl Scott. But I don't know.
Kind of like look at the structure and how they put songs together and like the way they're doing it, and kind of instead of trying to imitate, or imitating could be good for a little while, or just understanding what they're doing and how they crafted a hook
you
or
could
something.
try to maybe write a song, in use that same form, or something like that.
Or look for interviews with the people that talk about their favorite song, that they wrote, which is a pretty cool resource these days with YouTube videos and all that stuff. Cool. Well, the final question would be, and I think this is really important, because the show is kind of designed for people who are kind of like, we all have jobs, but we're still pursuing creative endeavors as well to keep ourselves fulfilled kind of as human beings. With what are some ideas that come to mind for how you manage, doing the songwriting, the luthier, being a father, being a husband, and having essentially a day job too,
Boy, I'm still learning that one. I am, man. No, it's tough. I think I have to be disciplined and make myself have time every day for that creative thing, or else I'll go nuts. I mean, I really will. Like, I can do without a lot of things in my world. I can deprive myself of many, many things, but a creative outlet, I can't. After 3-4 days, I start getting grumpy and getting irritable. It's kind of like withdrawals. And really it is. And so I try to make time every day, even if it's at 5 minutes, that I was saying, just do something, just to turn on that faucet just a little bit, to relieve all that other pressure of all the other stuff that I'm doing. Right. So it really is, it's a creative valve that I have to open up.
Isn't that amazing? I think it's the same thing. Like, it's like we have this, for people listening to this, kind of thinking of like a glass, and it's almost like the bullshit glass. Everything just builds up, things that nag at you, and like things you're stressed about, and these things keep building up. And then all of a sudden you're like, maybe it's 2 days and you play something, or 3 days, and all of a sudden you're done. You're like, what was I so worried about?
I know.
Like, life is good. It's amazing how you have to do that.
Yep.
That's why it's always interesting for me to have people on that kind of pursue music and stuff, to kind of, it almost normalizes my experience in a sense, to make me,
you can relate.
Yeah, because sometimes I'm like, God, is this like just for everybody? Well, dude, you're also one of my good friends, and I really appreciate you being on here. It's always a sweet thing for me to be able to get to know people, a little bit.
Different format,
and I really appreciate you and your family. You guys are like family away. Sure. Family. What do you say? Either we play a song together, or you play something solo, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, it sounds great.
All right. And if you're listening at home and you're interested in learning more about Dan Harris, he's a local luthier. He's a local singer-songwriter. His website is danharrismusic.com. www.danharrismusic.com.
HTTP.
That 2 backslashes. No, but really, I every time I have somebody come on the show, regardless if they're somebody I know or not, I always go through and check out the website. It looks really good, real easy to navigate.
Thank you.
There's videos of him with some of the instruments. You have some home recordings on there as well.
Yep, got a few videos of my band.
Yep, videos of the band. There's a professional recording by Flat 9 Design of one of your tunes too.
Thank you, Kyle.
Yep, and shout out to Kyle Ursery at Flat 9 Design. And really great. So it's www.danharrismusic.com. Look for him playing at places like the Front Range Brewing Company. What are some other places people can check out that you play?
Liquid Mechanics, Grosson Bar, just the breweries around town, coffee shops.
There really is a great, if you're looking to get out, say you're new to town, you're listening to this, there really is a great music scene in the Front Range where, you can see really great sounding performers and singer-songwriters at just your local brewery or coffee shop. So it's worth checking out.
You can't, what's it saying about throwing a cat? And you can't throw a dead cat without hitting a songwriter in this area.
Yeah, it's true. There's a lot going on to support out there if you really like to get out there and just check out some music and do your own creative thing while you're listening. So yeah, we're going to wrap up. This is episode number 8 of You Can Feel It All Over with my friend and guest, Dan Harris. We're going to segue into Dan playing a tune or two, or maybe we'll play together. Keep watching to find out, or listening to find out. there's a Dan Harris guitar and mandolin for you. Have a great night.